It's not clear how extensive this new Twitter policy is or how many tweets will even be checked. But one thing is clear, President Trump is not happy and he's hitting back. Twitter tonight fact-checking the president. In these tweets today, President Trump once again repeated the false claim that mail-in ballots are fraudulent. Now embedded in his tweets are links to get the facts about vote by mail. Tonight, the president lashed out, saying Twitter is now interfering in the 2020 presidential election. They are saying my statement on mail-in ballots, which will lead to massive corruption and fraud, is incorrect, based on fact-checking by fake news CNN and the Amazon Washington Post. Meanwhile, tonight, the back and forth between President Trump and the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee, Joe Biden, continues to escalate over whether Biden should have worn a mask during a memorial service yesterday. President Trump retweeting this image of someone making fun of the way Biden looked. Today, the president seemed confused as to when you are supposed to wear a mask.
Biden can wear a mask, but he was standing outside with his wife, perfect conditions, perfect weather. They're inside, they don't wear masks, and so I thought it was very unusual that he had one on.
In an interview with CNN, Biden responded.
He's a fool, an absolute fool to talk that way. I mean, every leading doc in the world is saying we should wear a mask when you're in a crowd.
Biden also addressed Trump's repeated false claims about election fraud and whether the November election will be fair.
Depends a lot on whether or not the president follows through with his threats, President Trump. For example, cutting off money for the post office for mail-in ballots. This is the guy who sits in the Oval Office, fills out his absentee mail-in ballot, and sends it to Florida to vote in the primary. Now, why is that not something that is susceptible to fraud or as you talk? There's no evidence at all.
And on the pandemic,
100,000 deaths, and at least 35,000 to 50,000 were avoidable, but for lack of attention and ego, I think.
President Trump defended his coronavirus response on Twitter, saying if he hadn't done his job well and early, the U.S. would have lost 1.5 to 2 million people.
To be under significantly that high mark shows that the president did everything in his power and helped to make this number as low as humanly possible.
Vice President Mike Pence held another conference call with state governors a day after the president threatened to move the Republican National Convention in August from North Carolina if the governor can't guarantee that he'll lift COVID-19 related restrictions by then.
The president wants to see the convention take place. He's noted that, and he wants to have a cooperative governor in making that pursuit happen.
But large crowds could still pose a significant health risk even in the summer. Alarm bells went off after this video was posted over the holiday weekend at a pool party at the Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri. Even back here in the Southland, there were concerns about crowds at the beaches and the traffic.
Traffic has been backed up on both sides, and the beach has been packed.
While the COVID caseload numbers here in the Southland are encouraging, 25 states have seen their average cases go up over the last 2 weeks. I'm Tom Waite, KCAL 9 News.